Starting. Deconverted man here. Waiting for Grave to the Flame Ministry to be in chat and or figure out if Hangouts will work for him. I sent him a link. So if he can get in, he will. But if he can't, then he'll get into chat. And then I'll start this properly. Okay, so this is going to be weird for everyone else because basically I'm doing this in an attempt to try to teach Grave to the Flame logic, or at least get started on that process. And he's around, so he'll be able to hear my voice and respond to me in text, if nothing else. He said to me that he learns best interactively, and I really, really, really want him to learn logic. And I did a Let's Learn Logic thing live last time, and I don't know, a few people watched it, so, you know, this will be a similar thing, and hopefully, you know, it will be a thing. And if you want to learn logic, you can, and you can ask questions in chat, and I'll answer questions as I try to teach logic to Grave and wherever the bleep else is here. So I'm waiting. I'm live, and it's going. Oh, that was not the thing. I'm trying to take this political quiz while I wait. I don't like these questions. They're so dang loaded. Let's see. It's important that the government follows the majority opinion, even if it is wrong. No, that's not important. If it's wrong, then why would you follow it? If it's the stronger the leadership, the better. What does that mean? The stronger the leadership? Like, no, not necessarily. Like, if the strength is not relevant, I don't know how to answer that. Democracy is more than a decision-making process. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Environmental relations, or yeah. Better world will come from automation, science, and technology. We don't know. I don't know. It might. It might also not. I mean, see, I hate this. You have to agree or not agree, or you have to like go somewhere in the middle. It's like, well, I hope so. I mean, ideally it will, but I don't know. So neutral, I guess. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. I can't say no because I want people to have maximum freedom, but I can't say yes. Yeah, neutral. Yeah, this is just, come on, get in here, Grave. Dang it. You better get in chat. Go to the chat window. Go to the thing on the video of, I don't know. Get in the chat window at the, oh, here, wait, maybe I should give him this link too in case he has no idea what he's doing. This is the live YouTube thing, and the other link is to the Hangout, which is what? Copy paste, put that there. So one of those. I saw him typing. So last time he knew where to type. Just so sending him lots of panics. Otherwise, I'll have to delete this. Got one viewer. That probably is me. I don't know. Let's see. Traditions have no value on their own. What does that mean? Traditions are valuable to the people that hold them. Otherwise, what does that mean? What do you mean by this, you stupid question? What? I can't answer that. It's not. Are you saying that there's no value in and of itself, like by itself? Well, then no. But people, you can't ever agree. No, wait. I didn't know. Traditions have no value on their own. No, I disagree. Religion should play a part. No. Churches should be taxed. Yes. Climate change is currently one of the greatest threats to our way of life. Well, it is a great. Yeah, I guess I agree. It's important we work as the United World to combat climate change. Yeah. Society was better many years ago than it is now. In what way? So neutral. I mean, better. I mean, it's so subjective. It's important to maintain traditions of our past. It depends what the tradition is. So I have to like answer everything neutrally. Something. Hey, Paul. Gonna teach grave logic if he ever shows up in chat here. So that's what this is. It's important that we think the long term beyond our lifespans. Yeah. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, reason is more important than anything else, so I guess I have to agree. Yeah. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Same-sex marriage should be illegal. Yeah, well, it is. No cultures are superior to others. Depends what you mean by superior. So I guess I have to disagree because sex outside marriage is immoral. No, I don't care. Accept migrants at all is important than assimilate into our culture. Yes. Abortion, no, until we find a better way. Gun ownership should be prohibited to those without a valid reason. Yeah. I support single-payer universal health care. What does that mean? How could it be universal health care if it's single-payer? The two don't... That doesn't make sense. Huh? What does that even mean? Stupid question. Prostitution should be illegal. No, I don't care why. Whatever. Maintain values is essential. I guess. Why am I taking this quiz? Hey, Shane, I'm teaching logic to grave to the flame if he ever gets in here. So, hi, Dan. Hi, Shane. How's it going? Gonna teach logic live again, like I did last time, but this time I have a student if he shows up. I guess he's trying to figure out how. I'm waiting. Waiting still. I'm there. Panic. He said, like, give him 10 minutes. So, that was 7 minutes ago. So I guess I started too soon. Lols. Oh well. Let's see. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. What? These political quizzes are just badly done. Here's that. If anyone wants to take it while I'm waiting, I guess. So I'm taking this because somebody posted it on Facebook. It's like, all right, I'll do it. To chase progress at all. Wait a minute. Here's something.
All right.
Hey! Oh my God! It worked.
Oh, miracle.
Okay, well, I'm converted. Well, I can't do this anymore. Screw logic. Okay. Wow. Well, he got in here. So that's cool. We don't need to broadcast, but I guess we will. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Nobody watches my stuff anyway, so whatever.
Hey.
Well, you watch it. Well, some people watch it. I mean,
well, I was gonna say, looking at it from the other end, though.
Obviously, not everybody doesn't not watch it. Wait, what? Okay, so.
Well, actually, what I was saying was, you're complaining about them not watching your stuff. Look at my stuff.
Oh well, yeah.
All right then.
Well, look,
you to the choir there.
You need to. This is what you do: is you find a topic that everyone's going to disagree with you on, and go ahead and do it anyways, and then burn yourself in fire, and double down. And
I think I did that from the get-go.
No. Yeah, I did that at the end and then I started bleeding subs, and now I'm trying to recover. But I don't know if I will. But oh well, whatever.
I've been trying to recover from the get-go.
Yeah, well, I don't know how YouTube works, so it doesn't matter. All right, so
well sometimes.
Anyways, thanks for this. I don't know what this is. Now I can stop taking this quiz because I don't care anymore. I can close this window. I don't need that open. Don't close that window because I need that open. I can close that window because I'll look at that later. And all right, so What, if anything, had you read on Logic that I've sent you a bazillion different books and things over time, so I don't know where you're at.
I'm gonna be honest. Off the top of my head, I couldn't remember. I could. Well, I mean it in the sense I can't. When I think of um, articles and whatnot, I don't remember every single thing.
Yeah.
Especially if I read it. Especially if I'm quote unquote reading at night.
Ah.
I won't
Well, but
typically remember.
I sent you, or I sent you an entire, well, a PDF to an entire book that was on Logic. So, did you read any of that at all, or do you
I,
have no idea?
I don't think so. Because I do remember those books on evolution. I kind of pushed that off for a little bit only because
Yeah.
no, I mean I legitimately pushed it off because it's not a big deal in the sense of it does it affect God or not in that sense. And I'm looking at the sense of just evolution um, at its core, what it actually is, and
Yeah.
comparing it and
Find a
comparing
good
it
way
to.
to prop up your phone there so you don't.
Oh no, that was
Yeah.
yeah, that's my iPad. I put my
Yeah.
thumb in
You're
front of the camera.
figuring out where to put it and everything. Yeah. See, I don't have, I got a nice table with a screen, so I don't have to deal with that. But hey, everyone has technology at different levels, so it's all good. Um, so I guess I guess we'll just start from the bottom and work up. I mean, that's really the only way I think that there is to go about it.
Well,
Um,
better not assuming. I mean, I probably could say no some, but at the same time,
yeah, but I
it's
don't.
always easier to work from the bottom
Yeah,
up.
it is. Okay, so I like to ask questions and kind of the sarcastic method in a sense, but also then after that, after you have the answer, I'll kind of expand on what it is and how it works. So when the word logic is said, what what do you think that word means?
Sound reason.
Sound reason. Okay, so well then we can go deeper. What is sound reason?
I would say anything that seems to follow that you can't say is wrong. Like, trying to think of a good example of that. All bachelors are unmarried men.
Okay, that's a good example of what's known as a tautology. It's true because it can't not be true because the word bachelor means a particular thing and the word married means a particular thing. So when tied together, the two can't exist in the same way at the same time, which refers back to one of the laws of logic, which you might know. So, which law of logic do you think that this is referring to? Or you might not know, but I'm hoping you do.
I'm trying to think. I'm making sure I'm not getting them wrong, so that's
That's all
something I'm
right.
bad about.
No, it's fine because it's not. The point is to what do you
But
think
it would
it
be
is? So a thing can't be what it
identity, I
is.
guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Okay.
identity,
There you
either
go.
that
All
or
right. You got it.
all
No
right.
identity. So
That
what
was my
is
second.
yeah? What is you? Like what? That's an identity. Is you right? Like
Right.
so. There's kind of, in a sense, there's two yous. There's the name that you have in real life, which is you can use a made up name. Obviously, it's the internet. We don't want to have your real name out there per se, unless you don't care. And then there's the grave to the or from the grave to the flame, which I just shortened to grave because I'm lazy. But
That's fine.
yeah. So your real name, I think I know your real name, but I'm not going to say it. So I'm going to say I need a fake name. Uh, I'm looking around for a fake name. Cthulhu, that's not a good one. Looking at things on my desk like paperclip. There we go. Beard guy. I don't know. Let's just call you
He's built.
Greg. Greg sounds like grave, so we'll go with that. So okay, so you have your real name, and then we have your avatar name. So if I said, well, is your avatar name, is that you? Well, is it? Kind of. So what is you? It's a very difficult.
It's a persona.
Yeah, it's a persona, right? So, like me writing on the lobster. I mean, you've seen what I look like, but that's still a drawing of me. That's not me, right? So the law of identity would apply here, where although when you see the picture of me riding the lobster, it's not a picture of me riding the lobster, right? Even though that's what it is. If you see what I'm saying there.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, like if you saw me riding a lobster, that would be a different sort of photo, wouldn't it? And you'd probably suspect that it was fake because we've never seen a lobster large enough to carry a human, right? So you'd have some questions.
No, we haven't.
As far as I know, we haven't, but maybe one's been found and I don't know about. So the law of identity is pretty simple as far as one way to reduce it is A equals A. Right. So, well, what in this case we're working with? Well, what are we working with when we say A in this case? What is A, not A the letter, but in this case where we're saying A equals A, what are we?
I was just saying the undetermined variable at the time.
Exactly. So it's a variable. So it could be X, it could be, asterisk, it could be anything. Yeah. Well, of course in algebra you have to get used to letters, and I don't remember how to do algebra anymore. Thanks, public education. But but if I did, I use letters. So it can be A can be anything in this case. Well, that's good representation of anything. Use the word letter A because it starts that word. So the second law of logic is different than that one. And let's see, do you remember that one? And I'm going to try to think of a way to get you to think of it without saying what it is.
You're talking about the law. Wait, you're talking about the law of non-contradiction?
Ah, yes, very well. Yes, that's it. Yeah, you got it. Very good. The law of non-contradiction, or you could say law of contradiction. Either ways. So, what is that? Can you give me an example of that? I think you actually kind of did. That also touched upon the law of identity one. But can you give me a different example? You're looking for.
I'm trying to think, and it's at night.
Well, hey, you told me to get on this time. Dang it!
I know.
What were you thinking?
Way to go, me.
Yeah. So a contradiction is what is a contradiction?
I know it's just like off the fly. It's like hard to think of something off the fly. That's the big thing.
What's a contradiction? Like, what does that mean?
Something where A and B or A and not A is what it would be.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right, it's a paradox would be another way to think about it. Which you kind of hit on earlier. You can't have a married bachelor be a paradox. So you can't say, well, I exist and I also don't exist. That would be kind of silly. You can't do both at the same. Right. Well, that's kind of a different thing. We're not going to get into.
No, but I'm just looking at it in the sense of living and not living.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to. We're well. Yeah. So then the third law of logic is
that would be the law of excluded middle.
Yes, which is how do we?
That one I always have an issue trying to like wrap my head around. I follow it, but to put it practically, not necessarily easy.
Yeah. Excluded middle is another way to think of it. Is it's a false dichotomy. So I think you're familiar with dichotomy, but I want to make sure. So do you remember what dichotomy is?
I was actually just looking into that, but I was scrolling through. Because, like I said, I was trying to find that one other contradiction, which I wasn't certain. Imagine that. Me second guessing
No,
myself.
hey, no, well, that's okay. Good, it's good to not be sure sometimes. Wait, what?
Well, but no, off the top of my head, I couldn't say I can remember what dichotomy is, and unfortunately, I don't have my dictionary right by me.
Yeah, so the the excluded middles is basically referencing what I would call a false dichotomy, and the dichotomy is yes or no. It's a light switch is the easiest way to think about it. So either the light's on or it's off. But if I said either the light's on, off, or there isn't a light, that could be a third option. So perhaps
So,
the
like,
light
basically black or white.
yeah, but what about gray? We're leaving out gray. So
Oh no, no,
if
no! I'm talking about like good,
no,
evil.
but yeah,
Just
that's what I'm saying is the reason that the law of non-contradiction is there is because unless it is a true binary choice, either it is or it isn't, that there could be an exception to that. There could be some, it's like, well, it's black or white, or it's gray. And it's like, well, okay, that was a bad example. Okay, it's a light switch. It's on or off. Okay, well, but the light's missing, but then it's still off because it's not on.
yeah.
Okay. If there's no light, then that's what I'm counting as off. So you'd have to get technical with your definition to really pin that argument down. But we kind of,
So many people told me that.
well,
You gotta be technical.
yeah, well, sometimes we have to be technical. Sometimes we understand what each other means, and that's what we call natural language.
Right?
And,
No, it's just I just laugh sometimes when I think about it. Like, how technical do you really want me to be? Because I can really play the technical game pretty well.
well,
I can be
you can
overly
you
descriptive if I have to.
well, it's good to know how to do that, but it's also good to know when to do it, and it's hard
Right.
to
That's what I'm saying. You have
sometimes
to
it's
know
hard to
within
know.
reason.
Yeah, it's like, well, come on, you know what I meant by this. Like, no, I didn't. I have no idea what the bleep you meant by that. So it
Yeah,
depends.
exactly. How many times
Every
I've
word,
asked that too? I'm saying, what do you
yeah,
mean by that?
yeah, every word that we're saying right now, I I am assuming that you understand everything I say, and you assume,
Didn't assume.
yeah, you have to assume that everything you say I understand at some level, right? But we have no. But what if the word, let's say of, what if that was different to you than it was to me? Oh, bleep, and
Then
that
that's when
then
you ask, what do you mean by
yeah,
that?
well, right. But we generally assume that we know how we're using the same words, and that's what we call what I call natural language, and the what I call problem of natural language is that the fact that words can mean different things to different people, and so you have the classical, well, let's debate about what the word atheist means endlessly because, well, this dictionary says this and this dictionary says
Oh
that.
yeah, but that's an appeal to diction. I think it was.
Yeah, appeal to definition. Yes, yes, and those sort of arguments really kind of go almost nowhere because, well,
Oh yes,
how do you
I saw it with that
decide?
first video.
Yeah, how do you decide which definition is the authority? Well, then you've made an appeal to authority and all that. So you get into, you know, you get in deep. But at any rate, that's kind of more technical. But these basic three things that are called laws of logic, I prefer to call them rules, but I think that they're called laws in a similar sense to that we observe them to be true. We have not ever observed them to not be true. So that's the label that was given to them.
Well, so I guess it's more, and I could be wrong, but just because I'm looking at it before, you're looking at laws as discrimination of behavior of certain things, whether it's of human behavior or natural behavior.
Right, right. So this is just how the system behaves. It doesn't mean, well, there's a law, there's a lawgiver. No, 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 no. We're not gonna, that's
No,
not what it
no, I wouldn't
means.
play that game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
we're
play
not.
that game unless I knew that there actually was a lawgiver,
Right,
for
right, right.
instance,
Yeah,
the judiciary.
yeah, right. It's like you're equivocating the word law to be something that it's not meant to be in this case. So that's good that we don't go down that particular rabbit hole. And it's good to understand why. So those are the basics, very bare basics of the foundation of what I've been referring to on my channel as formal logic. And then informal logic, which is my realm that I want to live in, is using just natural language like we are now to look at an argument and try to figure out if there is even an argument at all. So actually, a good example of this in many ways is that I had somebody asking me, what's the proof of the rules of logic themselves? And I said, well, the proof is you'd have to understand what tautology is. You'd have to understand what an axiom is. You'd have to understand what what a truth table is. And if you don't understand those things, there's no way for me to explain to you how we know that the rules prove that the rules are true. Like other rules prove that the rules are true, and you could
I would
always
say by objective reality.
yeah, well,
Objective
exactly,
truth.
yeah, but this guy's like, well, but there's nothing that the rules are not based on anything, or that you can't prove the rules because it's circular. I'm like, you don't look. This
No, you
isn't
got to start somewhere.
yeah, you got to start somewhere, and that's what an axiom is. It's just asserted to be true.
Well, it's true in of itself.
Yeah,
It
right.
has to
And
be.
he wanted to debate this. I said, we can't debate what the rules are. This is how it is. He's like, well, this is your belief. I'm like, no, this is just how it works. So we couldn't even get off the ground because he didn't want to. I don't know. Maybe he does want to learn, but he's confused. It seems to me he doesn't want to learn. I could be wrong, but it was frustrating from my end because I'd given him, all this list of things, and he
I know.
so
I know. When you try and get somebody's, especially with burdens of proof, you try and get somebody to actually accept their burden of proof, and they simply deny it for one reason or another, or just give some bogus response to it.
Yeah. So what do you think the burden of proof is? Because this is a good one for another sort of rule of logic to talk about.
Burden of proof is when somebody gives a positive claim, they are then subject to the burden of proof.
Right. Very good.
If I said God exists, I'm subject to the burden of proof.
Mm-hmm.
If you said or I said God doesn't exist, you're subject to the burden of proof because you're giving a positive claim.
Yes. Now, what if I said I believe?
That's a different story.
Right.
You're talking about belief, not knowledge.
Yes, and so belief statements do not have the burden of proof.
Correct.
Good. You've learned.
No bearing on objective reality.
Yeah, right. Because you can believe anything you want. That's nice. And it's like, okay, well, we might want to know why somebody believes in leprechauns, because it's interesting that they believe in that. But
they want Lucky Charms.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How can you explain Lucky Charms without Lucky the Leprechaun? I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. You want to think that some company built it? Oh, come on. But there are a few people, not very many, but a few people that you might find in Ireland or Scotland that believe in leprechauns. You'd probably find more people that believe in the fae folk, which is what we would call fairies. But how deep is that belief? I don't know. I haven't interacted with that person yet. So
yeah, neither.
But it's still, I'd like to know why they believe it. And are they saying it's real, or are they just saying that they believe it's real? Because there's two different things going on. So when we attempt to prove something, we need to have a way to do that. And so what would be one way to attempt to prove something.
External reality.
Okay, yeah. So that would
And I say
be
that in a sense because you could say evidence, but I'm thinking you're looking at not just empirical evidence, but you're also looking at forensic evidence as well.
well, the forensic evidence
Well,
is
you could
empirical.
say that, but some people, I'm just going trying to make it as broad as possible,
Yeah, right.
and so everyone understands it.
Yeah. Well, you got it. I mean that that whatever we can observe through whatever method, whether it's our eyes or microscope or telescope or some other scientific instrument, would
But
be
I'm also thinking, like in the sense, like you can find out who murdered somebody by forensic evidence if you don't have the murder weapon or something
right.
else.
But that's still evidence that you can visually inspect in some degree.
Right, it's still evidence, definitely.
Yeah, right. So well, we're gonna want to categorize what type of evidence we're talking about, because when we say the word evidence, well, it could mean, again, we run into that natural language problem. So we want to narrow it down by saying empirical evidence, because that means we can see the evidence in question. Does that make
Figuratively
sense?
speaking.
Well, by see we mean not just with our eyes, but with all the other instruments as well, right?
Oh, just for those literalists out there,
Well,
you know they're out there.
yeah,
Well,
well, no, but don't get hung up on them. I want to make sure you understand and agree with it.
right? No, oh no, I know. I
Yeah.
told you I can
Okay.
be
So
technical if I have to.
right. Well, yeah. We want it. I want, this is about you understanding logic, and me making sure that you understand it, and us helping other people perhaps to understand it at a different level, and that all of this is good. So okay. So what other, besides burden of proof, is something that we're very familiar with? Perhaps we could go into what are called the, well, I don't know. See, I don't know where to go with the technical nature of things versus like just the basic rules. I think that both are important. I'm not sure which one is more important. I guess I'll stick with the technical thing first, because, and then we can always go back to it at some other point if you forget, because it's late at night. So I want to cover HS, DS, MT, and MP. So yeah, just random order. HS, so hypothetical syllogism. Um, Maybe I should cover what a syllogism is first. So, do you remember offhand what a syllogism is, or
Definitively no.
okay? So a
I mean,
syllogism,
I could give it basically saying it's basically you give a premise, you give premises, and then a conclusion based off the premises.
that's
But
right. That's it.
but
You get
definitively, I'm thinking that going by the actual definition.
well. That's exactly what it is, though. You got it. It's always, it has to be two premises before your conclusion to be a proper syllogism. One premise and a conclusion isn't. It's just you didn't follow the rules, so we don't know what game you're playing. So go away and try again. It's like you want to play Monopoly, you got to play by the rules. It's like, you put money under free parking. No, you don't. Stop. That's not. You'll never end the game if you do that. So you have to agree to the rules to play. Um, um, that was probably a bad analogy, but oh well. So so yeah, that's what syllogisms is at least two premises, might be more, and a conclusion. So a hypothetical syllogism is, well, what's
Hypothetical.
hypothetical? Well, what is hypothetical? Well,
Something that's not actually true. Not
it,
or not actually true, but doesn't actually exist in the
well,
sense
it might. We don't
it
know.
might, right, yeah, we can say it that way.
We're
You
saying
don't know if it exists and you're not presuming it does exist.
right. So words like if or maybe or sometimes, words like that would be part of a hypothetical premise. So if X is true would be, the word if would indicate to you that this is the beginning of a hypothetical syllogism, because I'm not saying that it is true. I'm saying if it's
If
true,
it's true.
right? So I'm not, and so then the next premise usually is also worded in a similar way, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't also have to be an if statement. So if Socrates is a man, and if men are mortal, then Socrates is mortal. So if Socrates is not a man, or if men are not mortal, then he is not mortal. So the ifs have to be true to get to the conclusion.
Right.
And because we're saying if, it's viewed, hypothetical syllogisms are viewed as weaker sort of arguments, but sometimes in order
it logically follows, but doesn't.
Yeah, but it's not a hard case. It's like a soft case,
exactly.
right? And so sometimes, in order to make your argument valid, you have to make it a hypothetical because we don't know everything that there is to know. So it's just, that's, it's like, well, if I want a valid and sound argument, and I do, or I should, then I have to make it hypothetical because of the limit of my knowledge.
Well, yeah, depending on the claim being made.
Of course. But we're talking again. We're talking hypothetical about the hypothetical.
Right. I'm just saying if you're talking about meeting that.
Right. So that's an HS. So what else? MT or no, I'll go with DS. I think because it's easy. So DS is disjunctive syllogism, which we talked about, which is the or, the on or off. Very simple. It's true or it's not true, and that's it. Those are the choices, and it's not a false choice. It's a true choice. So either the light's on or the light's off. So if the light is off, then it's not on. If the light is on, then it is not off. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward.
Right.
Did you go through that red light? Yes or no? Well, there isn't another there is another option there. But
if you're asking if they know it, then yeah, because you're asking of knowledge, and they may not know.
Right, they might not know. Right, but let's assume that's why.
Let's assume they know it just for the sake of argument.
Yeah, right. Well, we see if you watch, I like watching the Cotton Providence videos, and so they'll play a clip of the car going through the red light, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that was your car," and it's like, we saw you going through the red light. So what do you want to tell us about this? And then they give whatever excuse they try to give, which are usually hilarious, in nature. You're like, come on, just own up. Sometimes the people will just own up to it and say, yes, I knew it was red and I went through it and I'm going to pay the money, And sometimes because of that honesty, the judge will reduce the fee. But
there's mercy.
Sometimes, but not always. It depends,
no. I'm just saying.
Yeah. If I watched where he threw the book at this one guy because this guy, just keeps showing up back in court, and the guy has a really bad attitude, so that doesn't help things. But at any rate, so a DS, a disjunctive syllogism, is a simple binary choice, and so that's what that is. So MP is modus ponens, which is in my song that I love, which I wrote, and thanks to Satan Atheist for doing the music and singing it. But modus ponens is my favorite. Well, I like modus tollens as well, but I just like the way it sounds, so I guess it's my favorite. I made the other one sad. Oh well. But it's a.
Can't believe you're playing favoritism.
Yeah, well, I am, but. So it's a form of a syllogism. So modus ponens is A, then B, therefore A. And I'm doing this from memory without looking. So if anyone in chat wants to correct me. No one did. I'm right.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold up. You're saying it went from A to B. I'm making sure I understand this. A proves B, which proves B proves A?
No. Premise 1, A equals B.
Okay.
Premise 2, B. Conclusion. Wait, I'm saying this wrong. I know I'm saying it wrong. I know I'm doing it wrong. Modus ponus, I'm failing you. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so if P then Q, this is a better way to phrase it anyways. If P holds, then Q is true. So I was trying to say if A, B, A, therefore B. So, and then the modus tolios, the MT, it's just kind of a flip of that, where my brain is going to break. So if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. So it's just kind of reversing the order a bit.
Oh, could you put that in a
in an
apply
example?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
So modus tolos. Okay. So if P holds constant, Q can be reversed. If apples are red and I'm holding an apple, it is what color would be inferred?
Well, it would be the red apple, but I don't
Right.
see how that
Okay. So,
follows.
well,
Like what the
so
color of the
if
apple matters.
well, but we're saying here, if apple equal red, then if I have an apple, it is red in this
Right.
case. Ignoring the particular, just so that we understand the rule. And then,
no, I was just trying to figure out how it follows.
right, because sometimes
logically.
apples are green, and yeah, okay. Let's see if I can get a better example, because my brain's like going, no, you can't do that off the top of your head.
Yeah, told you this is nighttime.
See, I know these things internally in my head, but saying them out loud is a different thing. Yeah. If it's a car, then it has wheels. It is a car, therefore it has wheels. So the first statement says that this next thing is true, and then so we're going back to the first thing and then inferring the next thing.
So basically, just like under the law of identity in that sense.
Yeah, in a sense. So if art, no, let's see. That's about let's see if I can. If I'm looking at my desk to try to get an example here. If peanut butter is crunchy, then it's crunchy peanut butter. So this peanut butter,
that doesn't always necessarily.
this peanut butter is crunchy, therefore it's crunchy peanut butter, something like that. So if the first part's true and then the second part's true, then you say, okay, that first part, then you infer the second part. Okay. So then the denial is the MT. So if it is a car and it has wheels, it doesn't have wheels, so it's not a car.
I'm trying to think of it.
Oh, no, sorry. Therefore, it's not a car. I'm sorry. I forgot.
That's what you said.
There. Yeah, I didn't know if I said not or not. Maybe, yeah. So MT and MP are basically opposite brothers, I suppose you could look at it that way. But obviously, this is something that you would have to, go over a few times to really get it into your head. Here's a link to an example of this that I found. But there's other examples of modus teleos and modus ponus. So MP, MT, HS, and DS are the four versions of syllogisms that exist. That's it. That's all that there is. There isn't any other syllogism. That's just the ones we have to work with. So every argument that you make that has a syllogism is going to be one of these four syllogisms. And if you don't do that, then you're breaking the rules of formal logic. But you don't always have a syllogism in every argument you make. And you don't have to, but it makes the argument more sophisticated and, I would say, stronger if you can do it. So, do you remember writing essays in high school or in school whenever you, or college, or whenever last you wrote an essay?
What was that?
It's like, no.
A decade ago? Maybe
Yeah.
longer than that?
Well, do you remember how to write an essay? At least to some extent.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you need first in an essay? What's the first thing what's the first paragraph or so?
That'll be the opening. Yeah,
the opening statement, right? And then after that, you're supposed to support that statement. So one way to look at MP is that in reverse, is the statements are going to lead to the opening statement. So the opening statement is going to go at the bottom, and all the things that support it are going to go on top. Does that make sense?
Honestly, I probably have to apply it, like actually do it more.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to write an essay, but then just turn it upside down, you've got a modus ponus. Of course, you can't read it now because it's upside down, but you understand what I'm saying.
Well, then turn the paperback over again. There you go.
Right. Well, you know, so instead of having the conclusion first and then supporting statements for that conclusion, you have the things that lead to the conclusion. And so, you know, so that's what the MT and MP are all about, is those things that lead you from point 1 to point 2 to the conclusion. Okay, so boy, that's a lot. So those are some of the fundamentals. I mean, there's way more technicals I could go into, but I'm not sure. Is there a particular now, of course, then we have what's called informal fallacies, which are these are the things that we like to throw at each other and accuse each other of committing from time to time.
I've never seen that happen.
So there's a number of fallacies. Some counts have it at 100, some at 1,000, some at 42. It doesn't matter. There's a lot. But there's some that are probably more common than others that are handy to know. Ad hominem, which is, of course, all of this is Latin, and so that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I've learned to love Latin because of it. Because hey, I love logic.
It's it's attack on person.
Yeah, so it's attack on the person instead of the argument. So now, if I said, okay, well, Flame's a poopy head.
I kind of cheated though, because I looked at.
No, that's fine. That's okay. No, there's no cheating in this classroom. It's fine. I don't care. You know, there's no points or anything here. You know, it's just an open classroom. Okay, so I'm ignoring the chat. Be fine. I'm a bad teacher. Well, hey, look, I want you to understand it however you're going to understand it, and so, you know, whatever that is, whatever works. What am I looking at here? What is this? Why is it opening like 1 million pages? I don't know what's going on here. So if I said, you know, because Grave is a poopy head, his arguments suck, that's an ad hominem. But if I just said, you know, Grave is a poopy head, and you know, I don't like him, and then I go on to attack your argument, well, it wasn't very nice of me to do that, but it wasn't an ad hominem because I didn't use the fact or the alluded fact or the suggestion of you being a poopy head to undermine your argument. I just said it as an insult, and it's like, yeah, okay, you insulted me. So what? What's your argument? Because an insult is... Yeah, I've been called things... Yeah, I mean, well, I've been called worse than a poopy head, trust me, but...
So have I.
Yeah, you as well. We've both been there. So it's like, well, that's nice. Okay, so, and what's your argument? Because you're not... Your insult is irrelevant. Who cares? That's just how you view me. Whatever. What what's your argument, or what's the thing that you're arguing against my argument? Because, yeah, maybe I am a poopy head. And so what? Does that mean, what does that mean to you? Because then they would have to say, well, therefore your argument is wrong. And then they would then have committed the fallacy. Because it could be the case, and I think this is a kind of a good example. So let's say that you know somebody who smokes, and they say smoking will kill you. And your response might be, but you smoke. Well, yeah, that makes them a hypocrite, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make what they're saying false. What they're saying is still true or false, independent of what sort of person they are. So you've attacked them, and also you've done another fallacy called 2Q, which is you as well. Although,
I think, I was looking at that. This is on the same thing.
yeah. So, you know, even if it's the case where you can point out, and that people do this with politics all the time and whatever, it's like, well, you know, they said this, but then they did that, and that's they're a hypocrite. And I'm like, yeah, and what's your point? It's not a logical fallacy to be a hypocrite. So it's like, and what's our argument here? We need an argument here. So what's that? You know, let's get to that. Let's skip over the name calling bit, because that doesn't really affect anything to my perspective. Although, of course, it can be used to try to discredit your opponent in the eyes of the public. It shouldn't be, but people do it, and that's mudslinging. Another one that might be common is besides what's another one? Give me a fallacy in chat that you guys think is common. Let's see. Come on, somebody. Oh my God, Annette's in here. Annette. Oh, sorry, I just had to go insane.
Now.
Oh, no, it's too late. I can't think anymore. My brain's gone. Yeah, my brain just went somewhere else. It will recover in a moment as soon as the blood comes back into my head.
All right, smart aleck.
Yeah. So
By trade.
Appeal to ignorance is another one that comes up quite often. So I think you're familiar with this. So what do you think appeal to ignorance is?
That would be more along the lines of simply not knowing.
Yeah.
Being ignorant of the situation. Yeah. No, you're more appealing to that, and I think you're just using it as a scapegoat. I think it's the best way to explain it.
Well, okay, let's say that the door to my room opens, and I go, well, I don't know how that happened. It must have been a ghost. Now, that's an appeal to ignorance. I don't know how it happened.
Right.
So that's
you're
where
you're assuming the premise to be true.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah, so I should stop when I say I don't know. I shouldn't keep going from that point, because that's the truth. I didn't know, and to say, well, it's a ghost, because I can't think of anything that could have opened the door other than a ghost.
You can't jump to the conclusion. You can say it could be this. It
could be investigate. Right. But to just say, well, it's a ghost, and that's well, that's an ignorance, and it also might be an appeal to. If I say something like, I can't believe that it's anything other than a ghost, that's appeal to personal incredulity. It's like, I can't believe anything except for the thing that I want to believe. What's another one that you can think of, or what's something that is on your mind for logic that's bugging you, or that you want? You were telling me you wanted to find the shotgun fallacy, I believe, or the sharpshooter fallacy.
I'm trying to find that, because I was just.
It might also be the sharpshooter fallacy. It depends. I'm not sure exactly which one you're looking for.
It was just no, that was it. It was just I think it was where you draw bullseye.
Or after
whatever point you're making, and then you say that proves my point.
Yeah, that's the sharpshooter fallacy then.
Well, when I was looking, I was doing a quick Google search about it, and I saw Texas sharpshooter, but
right. But
I
it's
just want to make sure there was not another name for it that was
but
similar
hopefully
to other logical fallacies.
yeah, yeah. Well, shotgun fallacy is similar to that, but it's a different one in that shotgun fallacy is where I say like 20 different things at once, and you only have 5 minutes to rebuttal them, so you can't possibly rebut all the different things I've said. So I've it's a form of a fallacy to do that because I'm being unfair to you. It's like
Right.
Whereas a sharpshooter fallacy is the analogy is that somebody has shot several times at a wall, and then you draw a circle around the best grouping of that and say, "Aha, they're a sharpshooter." So, in other words, they've gone all over the place, but then you're kind of cherry picking the times that they hit. This is kind of what happens in what's known as cold readings, where you've heard of this with psychics. Where they say a bunch. Is it Tim? Is it Andy? Is it like, was your uncle old and he suffered and he coughed a lot and he was ill? And it's like, yeah, I mean,
do you have a book?
Do you have a book? Yeah, it's like he had. I think he had gray hair. It's like and however many guesses you make, and the person only remembers the times that you actually.
Well, yeah, they're being led into what information they're going to try and get out.
Right, and then they only remember the hits. They don't remember the misses. They don't remember the times that you were wrong. So from their point of view, you're a sharpshooter because they only see the hits and they don't see all the misses. And so it's frustrating because when you're on the outside looking in and you see the person that falls for it. And I think James Randi did a thing where he had the guy's session recorded and he just threw the entire document of they transcribed the session. He said, "Here, take a look. These are how many misses they had," because he couldn't believe that he didn't remember all this misses. He was like, "No, she got everything right." It's like, "No, she said this name and this name and this." She had like 40 different names that he didn't. He literally, I believe that he didn't remember it because he just was acting like he didn't. And
James, it could have gone in and out.
Yeah, James just throws the thing at him for him to read. It's like, "Here, there's the evidence." That's just what happened. So it's like, oh, yeah, I guess. Appeal to probability or appeal to authority are good ones. Yes.
I've seen that a lot, and I
which one?
Appeal to authority, appeal to popularity.
Well, she said probability, but okay, appeal to authority.
No, I heard that. I was just thinking of them both at the same time.
No, that's okay. Well, what is
it used in that sense?
No, that's good. What's an appeal to authority?
When you're just because some authority figure says something, therefore you think it's true based on their authority.
Yeah.
For example, if you said scientists from say 15th century, 14th century, whatever it was, say the universe solar system. Eventually, I'm going to get these two things understood here and used right. But the solar system was geocentric.
Right. Well, that doesn't make it. Just because they were an authority in their time.
Right. It doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it true. And it could be. It could lead credence to it. But, that's why when you go to
you're appealing to that, not to.
That's why when you go to the doctor, you get to ask for a second opinion or more than just a second one. You get as many opinions as you want from as many doctors because.
I would say minimum 3, to be honest. But
that's
minimum I'm talking about now.
Yeah, you could keep going. However, it's your right as a patient.
Well, it depends on the degree. What's the issue?
Yeah. I mean, if you're in there and they say you have a cold, I think it'd be silly to waste their time. But it is in your rights as a patient to ask for a second opinion and receive it. How many more beyond that's kind of up to the individual hospital. But most hospitals have patient advocacy and things like this to protect the patient and stuff like this. So but yeah, so the authority of anything doesn't mean that the authority is right just because it is an authority. And that's always true, no matter what the authority is.
Oh yeah, don't appeal to them just because they say they are an authority or whatever.
So there are times when I think you have been confronted with this, where you struggle because of theology, where it's like,
Me?
well, yeah, well, it's
Never.
like, yeah, it's like, well, if God says blah, then I have. It was like, well, what is that? And then that's what I have to do, or that's what is right to do. So God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son. Well, then that is the thing that Abraham should do in that case. There isn't an option where he can say no to that, because saying no would be wrong, or would it? And that's kind of the question of how does one, how might one view the lesson?
Well, it sounds like more of a moral issue than a logical one.
Yeah. Well, but the logic is there too. It's like, well, if he is making this decision based on authority, then he's using bad logic. That might not change his action, but we can still admit that, we don't know because we don't read his mind, and it's not told us what's going through his mind per se. But if I was in that situation, I would say, well, no, I'm not going to do this just because you told me. Your authority in this case doesn't make me doing this the right thing to do. But
unfortunately, we are subject to authority, nonetheless.
True, but we don't. But that doesn't make.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't make the thing right, though. We've agreed on that.
No, right. No,
yeah,
definitely. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
It's like, so when it comes to things about God, of course, in theology, because you believe in God and you believe in a certain type of God, you're going to be confronted with these problems of, well, maybe your way of looking at God is slightly off, because what are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the fact that the logic is bad and just ignore that? Or are you going to say, well, maybe I'm not understanding this in the right way? And you have to make that choice, because that's your choice to make. Nobody can make that choice for you. And I've said to you many times, it's fine to believe in God. I don't have a problem with that. It's when you use bad science or logic that I have a problem with, So you got, this is why, my goal is to try to get people to understand logic and science. Although the other one I can't really help people with per se. Because if there's a God, okay, great. And how are we going to argue for that if we don't understand how to argue, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I'm flirting with Annette. I'm a terrible teacher. So, okay, let me read through chat here and see if other students have things to say. Oh my God, look at the chat. Law of identity. Let's see. Let's see. Everyone's talking at each other. Nobody's asking me. Oh my God, look, Keith is here. Civil. Oh my word, Keith is here. I told people to subscribe to Prodigy FX because he now has a channel, or he's had a channel, and I didn't know that he had one until recently. But he's been a person that's commented on my stuff for I don't know, a long time. But now that he has stuff to watch, we should go watch it. What are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Steve and all that, blah, blah, blah. Peachy Keen.
All right.
Let's see. Jism, Snake Oil. If X is true, then Y is true. Y is false, therefore X is false. That's the N.
There you go.
M.
Get some screen time.
T. There we go. I can't see. General what? Logical critical thought process grade school. Say they're Johnny, you're doing. Yummy green yummies? What? Endorphin block, yeah, whatever. No True Scotsman. What about no? Oh, I was like, what? No True Scotsman? When? Where was he made? Oh, he was throwing that out as another fallacy. What's no True Scotsman?
All right.
Strawman.
You're asking me now, right?
Yes, I'm asking you. Yes.
Okay, I was making sure. Rhetorical.
No,
like you were trying to think. Okay, what is this again?
No, I know what it is.
No, it's there's no actual determining factors that qualify a specific. Well, in this case, Scotsman. There's no true definition of what or means of outlining what the parameters of someone is, basically.
Yeah, you got it. It's kind of muddled, but you got it. So the analogy goes.
It's not scripted, so
yeah, I know that's fine. I'm just, I'm just picking on you a little.
I know,
trying to get you. It's all right. It's all right. I know you're just saying. I'm just saying too, but okay. So because I'm doing this too, because I don't know. I'm muddled. My face is muddled. Whatever. So all Scotsmen are brave. You're not brave, therefore you're not a Scotsman. Well, no, not all Scotsmen are brave. You're Scotsman because you're a Scotsman. You're from Scotland. That's it. That's what makes you one. Not that you're brave. So, oh, well, they're not a true Christian because Christians only believe in fill in the blank. It's like,
yeah, I was gonna say fill in X.
Yeah, it's like, well, the word Christian isn't copyright or trademark last I knew, so an atheist could say that they're a Christian. Now, does that make sense? Well, not on the surface, but if we dug deeper, it might. It's like, well, you could believe in all the things about Christ except for the God part, and you'd be an atheist, technically speaking. So,
well, you have to go by the parameters of, like, at least the most broad, the most widely accepted part of. I shouldn't say that, but
right.
In a sense, talking about religion, or you're talking about, we'll stick with the term religion. You got to go by what it means to be in that religion, in that sense, in the broadest sense.
No, not necessarily. You don't lie, because it's not. You're saying you are this thing, and then the person's like, well, that doesn't make sense, but they can't really. There are times when you can't. Yeah, there are times when you can say no, you're not, but there are many times where you can't really say that because of the no true Scotsman fallacy. So,
well, I'm thinking about like you can't. Let's say I think I want to say I'm a girl. I'm not a girl. There's no way I can say I'm a girl just because I think I'm a girl.
Well, I did that debate last time, and that's what burned my channel on fire. So I'm not going there again.
Oh no! I'm just saying you can't say you're something just because you're something. You choose to.
Yeah, well, it'd be more like if somebody said I'm a Republican, and you go, but you voted Democrat like for the past 5 years. It's like, yeah, but I'm still a Republican. It's like, huh? It's like, it doesn't make sense. But maybe what they mean by Republican is something that you didn't think about or understand, or maybe they didn't like all the Republicans that were running, and so they had to vote Democrat. Maybe that's the case, So you can't.
No, I understand that. I mean,
yeah,
I would do the other way around. But I don't like. Well,
but so we got to be
anyway. But
identifying when the new true Scotsman fallacy has occurred is a matter of trying to work out those nuances of what does it mean to be this thing that you're talking about. It's like so if it is something that's defined in a rigid way, then you could make a quantitative statement. But if it's something loose, then you can't. So it's a complicated fallacy. So anybody in chat have anything they want specifically covered? I don't know how long this is gone, but I feel like it's gone for a while. I think it's been pretty good for kind of just some bare bones basics of logic, and now that we know that you can do this, that you can join Hangouts, what I think we should do is do this off air. So, you know, I'm fine with doing stuff on air. Don't get me wrong. But it's like I feel like I'm excluding people and stuff, so it's kind of weird, you know. So let's find a day and time that we can do more like this. You know, does that sound good to you?
That's fine.
All right. All right. Anyone want to talk about anything before we end or whatever we're doing now, or no? Because I'm like, my brain's done. I'm done. My brain is just like, no, I'm done. Plus other things I want to maybe do, but mostly I'm not done talking about logic. Don't get me wrong. I could be here all night, but oh, the Criterion. Oh dear. Is that okay? So, well, I guess we could talk about that, Paul Winsonorg. Atheists can't have morals, can't get aught from is. Well, what's morals? It depends what you mean by morals. Because what do you mean by
that?
Yeah, what do you mean by the word morals? Because that everything that followed that word hinges upon whether or not I can agree with that statement or not. And the way I view morals might not be the same way they are. So, let's see. Patting on head and saying, okay, whatever you choose to believe. Well, what do you... Okay, so again, we would need a coherent... We would need to know what you mean by morals before we can say... get to the next part where you say can't get aught from is, what that means as well. So I'd have to... What fallacy would what be called, Prodigy FX? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Okay, let's see. So I'm reading through chat here. Paul Wilsonorg? Paul Wilsonorg? I don't know how to say that name. Paul Wilsong? Sorg? How do you say that name? Atheists can't have morals. Stop it. Well, it's a statement. It's an assertion. Where's the argument? There isn't an argument being given for the statement, so it's not a fallacy per se. It's a formal fallacy, failure to give an argument. As far as informal, you haven't made one because there's no premise there. So, Paul Willis org. Oh, okay, I see. Is this the Paul that had emailed me by any chance? Because I had somebody email me recently and I hadn't looked at that. Hadn't had a chance to look at that email. It was like, look at these videos. And I'm like, do what now? Where was that? Oh, it's buried. I got like 1 million different responses from Prodigy sending me the file like 20 times or whatever because Google was being stupid.
At least it's not Yahoo.
Check it out. Let's see. This is me like emailing you 1 million times, being panicked. I'm like, where are you? Get on now. I'm talking to myself, Grave. Do you have a fake name to call you or what? Are we just going to keep calling you Grave? Come on, come on, somebody name me Dan. So we're going to call you something here. Might not be something you like.
I'll be shocked.
You'll be shocked. No, check it out. Check it out. Where the bleep is this? Bleep me. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where the bleep the thing, the email was that I'm talking about is, so I'll have to look at it. No, I didn't email you. Okay. No one individual can't find morality. Huh?
I think that needs to be rephrased.
I think you need to. Yeah, I was gonna say that didn't. Like, what do you?
It sounds like a double negative.
Yeah, there's like a double negative there. Do you mean that all individuals can find morality? Like what? Huh? Huh? Like, please reread, please reformat, and then say again, because I'm not sure what the heck he just said. Let's see. Morality can't be obligation games between humans. All human games are gameable by humans. Plus, you can choose not to play. Huh?
Not really. You can't choose not to play in that sense.
Well, I mean, what does that mean? I'm trying to understand what he means.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm just going to look in the. Like, if you're talking about playing a moral game, you really can't play that.
Well, I mean, I guess you could. You would not last very long in a society.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, if you were on an island, it wouldn't matter. You know, if you had no one, because you're just by yourself. You know, whatever. But when you have more than one person, you're going to have some sort of rules of some sort of how you treat each other. At least you kill each other, and then one's dead, and that's that, and and then that's just if you wanted to continue the existence of your species, you might not want to kill each other off. So there's a good rule to start with: is let's not kill each other. So as far as games are gameable, I'm not sure what that statement's supposed to mean. Like, what do you like? The meta game? Are you talking about, or like the rules of chess are the rules of chess, and you have to play by those rules. You can't, if you don't want to play by those rules, then you're no longer playing chess. You're playing some other game, but it's not chess, So if you want to play chess, you must play by the rules. That's it. And so, yes, a human made up those rules, but if we don't want to play by those rules, then you're not going to play that game, and that's the end of that. So I don't see there being a problem with the hypothesis that humans made morals. Now, maybe God made morals, or you want to think that. I don't know. That's, okay. But to object to the idea that humans couldn't have made it would require more than the statement that, well, you can choose not to participate, because that's kind of irrelevant to whether or not the rules are still there or who made the rules in the first place. So we need to somehow get to a conclusion about who made the rules. Either humans made them, something other than humans made them, or maybe some humans and something other than humans made them working together. What's the argument? So, you also, I think that when we get into morality, I'm sorry, Grave, if you want to go, you can, or you want to join. I don't know what you want to do, but I'm talking to chat now. I'm sorry, dude.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just trying to.
No, yeah, you can talk to chat too. I mean, you're here, so I'm like, I'm gonna go, and I'm still here.
I actually don't see what they got up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this guy is trying to say to me. PaulWillis.org. I always think that when we talk about morality, if we don't include ethics in the discussion, it's kind of a moot point, because ethics are the foundation to build morality on. So if we're going to leave out that, then it's like, well, what are we talking about at that point? It's like, well, let's not exclude the ethical system there. Let me get my list of ethics if I can find it. Which folder did I put that in? Then I really want to go, because I want to call someone and flirt with them. Not gonna say names, but you probably know who it is by now. Saying this out loud. Oh, bleep. I should say it in my head, but I'm not. I don't care if they know that I'm flirting. Da 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 da. This song is not very good. Stop making it up as you go. Okay. Anyways, I could just sing my other song. I know that one. That's at least a song. This one I just was making up on the fly. Where's these dang ethical systems? There we go. Let's see. Here we go. Thank you. There they are. Okay. So I had to find them. I found them. Now I put them in chat. Bam. Boom. Okay. So got a lamau. Morals are built into the structure of this universe because the universe is in fact the mind of God. That's
What?
nice. Oh, if you say so. I mean, okay.
That does
I
not
mean,
make sense. A
you and you.
mind, a mind is more of a personal thing, where the universe is impersonal.
Yeah, so maybe he believes in some sort of pantheistic God.
That's what I'm thinking of.
I mean, I don't know, or maybe he's just. I mean, he might. I don't know which God he's talking about. So
No, you can't
you
really
know,
assume it. I
yeah, I
mean,
don't want to
we could, but you
assume. I mean, I
shouldn't.
could, but we shouldn't. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, which God are you talking about here? So really do have to go. Bye, Brian. See ya. Pantheism, not pantheism. Whatever. Look, I'll say words how I can't say words. Okay, this has been an established thing on my channel for a long time.
Words.
Words. Okay, Flame can't say some words. I can't say other words. Together, words have no chance against us. Pantheism. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know what God you're talking about there, Paul. So maybe you want to clarify what God you're talking about here, because I don't know. So I put my list of the ethical systems, and I think that went bye in chat because a bunch of people talked at once. So I guess I'll do it again. So here's a list of, I think, is that all of them, or did it miss some? No, it got all of them. So Grave, which ethical system do you hold to, or are you not sure? Because I would again, I don't want to assume divine command theory, but I suppose you might have some ideas on that. Do you have any idea of which of these ethical systems you have, or would you have to look them up to see which one fits you?
I've actually
Start looking them up.
no, I mean, I'm saying I've looked at them, but none of them necessarily follow
Exactly
in
what you
that
want.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
some. I'm just going to use the word sin in the sense of doing things that are morally wrong, but certain things aren't necessarily in that sense being judged as morally wrong if certain circumstances are taking place that are out of
Yeah.
control.
So it's kind of a combination of ethical systems that you might have there. Whereas mine, I just go with utilitarianism because it's easy to remember. I like things that are
Do
easy.
this or don't do this.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's a very simple formula. Littlest harm to the littlest amount, most good to the most amount. Okay, that's easy to remember. I don't have to strain my brain to remember what I'm supposed to be doing here. And so then the morals that I have aim at those ethics. Now they might not hit, but that's where I'm going to aim at. So I'm going to do or not do what I think should cause the least amount of harm to the least amount of people or creatures or things. So whatever that
what you can do is practice on snakes.
it's turtles. I always go with turtles because nobody cares about turtles.
Nobody cares about snakes.
Nobody cares. Well, somebody cares about snakes, but
No.
yeah, well, hey, look, people have snakes as pets, so,
And they're
yeah.
no,
And the people dancing with
that's foolish.
What do you think of the people that dance with the snakes there? What do you think of those guys? Think they're pretty?
That's up there with sword swallowing and fire breathing.
No, I'm talking about the religion group that dances with snakes. You know about those guys? I forget what they're called, but I think they are just called like the snake candlers or the snake guys, or I don't know what they're. But they're basing the idea on. There's a passage in the Bible where it's like that you won't be struck by a snake, or if you are, it wouldn't affect you, or something like that. I forget exactly.
Wait. You're saying it's in the Bible. What Bible? Are you talking about the Christian Bible?
Yeah. Like there's a whole little like a mini cult. I don't know.
Say it sounds very cultic.
I don't know if it's a cult or religion, but Handler Church. Let's see, because Google will know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Serpent handling. Okay, so there's not a specific name per se. It's just part of a ritual. Okay, part of the holiness movement. Okay, participants are either holiness, Pentecostals, or charismatics, or other. Okay, so yeah. So where's the Bible verse that supports this?
I was going to ask if you knew that or could get in touch with that. Well, I'm sure it's mentioned it to you as well. I know I mentioned it to so many other people, so I could easily be forgetting. But you can never use one verse as a standalone verse as a evidence for any claim.
Let's see.
Especially if it's without context.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Okay, so Mark 16:17-18. So these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they'll cast out devils, they speak in tongues, take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will not harm them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. It's like, well, okay, sure, but that, I mean, maybe it doesn't mean what they think it means, but they do think it means that. So they hold snakes and they go, look, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this because it said we can do this. It's like, well, that might not mean what you guys think it means, but they think it means that. And they get bit all the time, so, I don't know.
Hope they have plenty of antidote.
Venom. Yeah, well, no, see, they might, but what I've heard about, and I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that if somebody dies from the snake bite, they say that they weren't a believer because they wouldn't have died if they had been a true believer. So, I'll probably
get crucified in the chats for saying something like this, but it's okay. Because, I mean, I'm saying in the sense because I probably not.
Well, whatever it is, if it's a bad idea, don't say it.
Oh, no, it's just, no, you know how people are with.
No. What? Okay, say it and then regret it later.
Okay. Well, have you seen Family Guy?
I've seen many episodes of it. I don't know which one you're referring to right now, but yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I was going to say, because I've seen that, and people will probably think, oh, you should be watching that. You're a Christian, you're whatever, you're hypocrite or whatever. Well, anyways, so I saw, that's like the, and I kept
because you're not allowed to watch it or something. Oh, please, come on.
Yeah, well, come on. People find anything to complain about. But
yeah,
anyways.
it's like, oh, we're not playing music in the church the right way. I've been there.
Yeah, no, that's actually that's. I saw to touch on soon.
Yeah, well, anyways. Okay.
I was gonna say it's like the one clip from one. What's the word I'm looking for? Cutaway with Snake Jesus, Snake Jesus, regular Jesus, and Tree Jesus. You remember that?
No, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Okay, there's this guy. There's this guy, and there's a snake. The guy was holding the snake. I'm trying to remember how it went because this is a year ago now. I saw it. Maybe I don't remember exactly. And he's like, "If I believed hard enough, the snake won't kill me or something." Or I will. It was, if I believe hard enough, I will not die. The snake said, "If I believe hard enough in Snake Jesus, he will die." And then the tree, he said, "If I believe in Tree Jesus hard enough, both of them will die." And he got struck by lightning and killed them both.
Okay. That's a typical one of those weird things Family Guy does. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said this to you in email. I think will be a good way to close this because I can't get out of this conversation otherwise. Is that?
Hope you're not blaming me.
Is that that if there's a God out there, that it would have to agree with the reality that we have. Like that I saw somebody just put on Twitter lately, some Christian that said if the Bible said 1 + 2 was 10, that I'd try to like make sense of it. And it's like,
no,
why would you like
it's true and it's necessarily true. 2 + 2 is 4.
It's like
That's necessarily true.
Like, yeah, well, I said 1 + 2, but whatever it is. Like, look, maybe somebody edited the Bible and put that in there, and so you're worshiping.
Oh, then you gotta have to find evidence for that.
Yeah. So what winds up happening is they worship the Bible rather than the God. So that's where
ideological.
Yeah, you're an
anyway.
biblical idolater, right? And I was talking to somebody, a while ago. It was like I had a 6-hour long talk with a guy that was a Christian and that was King James onlyist, and then I did another, and then I did another hangout where the guy was like King James / sort of NIV, but like I wasn't really clear. But in both cases, I said, look, why are you holding on to the idea of the young Earth thing? Because everything that we know about is just against it, and all you're doing is saying that it has to be this way because you view that the Bible has to say this thing, and it doesn't say that, and even if it did, it would still be wrong. So you're not worshiping the real God, and they couldn't wrap their heads around that. I think you can, though. I don't know where you are in that journey of how you view God yet, but it's like,
and I'll say it this way: I believe that the universe was created, but within a finite period of time. Where the period of time is X.
13 billion.
Well, yeah, that's the consensus.
Yeah, well, it's not just that we agree upon it because it's the consensus, but the consensus is there because the evidence is there. So we don't even need the consensus; we have the evidence. so
I can accept. I don't have a problem accepting it. I'm not going to accept it on.
No. Right? Exactly. Yes, that's right. It's very good to say, well, it's just because it's a consensus. No, but that part doesn't matter as much as the evidence being there is the reason why there's a consensus, rather than there's a consensus, therefore it's right. There's like it, So we got, in this case,
again, going by the guy saying it's like a 6,000 year,
6,000 year old Earth and a 6,000. It's like, look, that's not, That's not how it is. I'm sorry. I mean, it's
can't really use the Bible as a scientific book.
Well, yeah, but they try to, and they do extrapolations that are, I would say, unwarranted, because you have all these ages of people, but you don't have a complete genealogy. They think they do. It's not complete, though. It's one-sided, so you don't have both sides.
No, touched on it. I don't know if you saw the video or not, and
yeah, and you've talked about this. Yeah, and there's 2 different genealogies as well. So which one are you going to use? So then you're saying,
wait. Well, I'm talking about going by creation itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the video I did not too long ago. I think it was like a couple days ago, talking about the creation. You're going from a broad sense of the word creation, and then you're just going deeper and deeper. Like you're becoming more and more narrow in your location. For instance, you're going from the universe to just Earth, and then going from Earth to like the Garden of Eden.
Yeah,
you're becoming more and more localized.
Yeah,
but you're talking about days though. So
did you understand the point that I was making at you regarding superlatives? That the word everything, all, never, nowhere, all, that these words, the reason why we can't necessarily use them, it depends. Like, because
so I get if it can't always be used, but in the senses where it is like that's 100% true. Like for instance, every bachelor is unmarried.
Right. That you can say,
exactly.
But when you've said things in comment, like you had said something like, everything contingent.
Everything caused is contingent.
Right. Well, you don't know that because you don't have an example of everything.
Should have been more. I guess I could have said every tangible thing.
Well, but do you have an example of
thing.
Do you have an example of every tangible thing?
Also, just about everything you see, touch, or hear.
But is that everything, or is that only the things that you observe?
Well, it's going by. I'm just looking at it in a sense from going like as elements, compounds.
Yeah, but do you understand what I'm getting at? The reason why I want you to use the word everything is because you can only speak about the things that either you individually or we as a collective humanity have observed so far. And we have not observed everything, quote unquote. So when you say everything has a cause, well, you don't know, because we can only say everything that we've observed has a cause, maybe.
Well, and you're going also by the definition of what contingency is. Which, oh, by the way, I did mention. I meant to put it in the comment and I forgot.
Yeah, but
look up,
remember then we go back.
Because I know you put the definition of superlative in the follow-up comment. I did look that up and I forgot to put that in the comment before.
Yeah, but you understand that this is a rule of logic. It's not. I'm saying that you want to avoid the word everything or nowhere or those sort of words whenever possible, because otherwise you're slamming your head against a brick wall. You know, there are certain statements like bachelor, married, and humans are mortal that we can make, but when we're talking about something like the universe, where it's like, well, we can only talk about the things that we know to be true. Now, if you're using a definition, a tautology of some sort, well, then you might run into the problem of natural language again. So
at the very most, I think that's the issue then. Because like I said, I was looking at it in the sense of what we mean by cause and what we mean by contingent.
Right. Well, but even if we agree, I would say the safe way to play, because you want to play the game as best as possible, hypothetically, because you want to win the game, hypothetically, is...
You do?
Well, I hope so. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to win the game. I don't know.
Well, you know those people, there are those contestants that always say, like, when they're about to lose or they do lose, like, I always wanted to win. I'm thinking, you wanted to win? I thought you came here to lose.
Yeah, I thought, well, maybe they did. I don't know. Well, there are, but at any rate, so the best way is again with that precision of language that sometimes we fail at, sure, but when I nudge you and say da, 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 don't say everything, you should go, oh yeah, that's that rule. I forgot. Let's just try to avoid it whenever possible so that you make better arguments. Yeah. All right. Okay, that's it. I gotta go. I really do. Thanks for the shouts out. Deconverted Prodigy says. Paul says 99.999% of the universe will kill you. I'm not sure that we've quantified it to that degree, but a lot of the universe will kill you. Well, I think he's referencing the design argument, which wasn't. I know, but whatever. That's what I'm saying. So what? Yeah, this was fun. We'll get together via email and figure out a time to do this, offline and with each other and whatever, and cover more logic. But I think this was cool because, well, I got a lot of people watching, and that's amazing. So we got to debate or something, but I want you to learn logic before we go debate again. And Yin Yang's just going to keep asking you questions until you answer them. So
I try to answer them, and sometimes they don't seem like they're ever sufficient.
Well, he's got his own methodology that even I mean, I can't do what he does, but he has his own. He uses the Socratic method, and I don't know how to do that. So
it seems like. I'm not going to say because,
but he wants to understand what you believe and why you believe it. So answering these
I get that.
Yeah. So that's why he's trying to ask.
I'm trying to answer all these questions correctly here.
It's
in the sense that
well, it's not about well in a way that makes sense. I would think correctly is well, what do you believe is true? Just say it however you can say it, and hopefully he'll understand it. And if not, well, okay, at least you tried, But yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, Main Gun, you're late again. I'm gonna close for real this time. Lobsters exist. Hey, what is the thing that I usually say at the end of my videos sometimes? No? Fine. Unless the Joey Avalanche.
I didn't know if you were going to use that one or if you're going to use another one.
Screw you. Lobsters, whatever. I'm ending the call. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to hit the button.